So in this week's hobby quick tips, we're going to be going over some simple rusting effects. So I'm returned to my dozer blade and painted the whole thing bolt gun. And so we're just going to rust up some of the back here just to give some idea of what to do real quick. So here's the colors we want to use. Now, I'm going to remember that rust isn't one color. So there's the three colors I like to use when I use rust. First of all is Model Air, just regular Model Air rust. There's a Model Air rust metallic. I don't like that as much. This is Doombull Brown, which is the replacement for Dark Flesh, and is really, really, really close to Dark Flesh, so it's a good match. And lastly, Troll Slayer Orange. And the mix of those three colors will provide a nice detailed rust. And then the last thing we need is some foam. And I like to use tweezers on the foam instead of doing it by hand. And lastly, washes. I'm going to do two areas here with different washes just to see the difference. One is, of course, Agrax Earthshade, and the other one is Typhus Corrosion. I guess Typhus Corrosion technically isn't a wash, but it works like one. So I always start to rust with this. I always start with the rust color. So we're just going to tear off a chunk of foam here, and you want to tear it because you want an uneven surface. You don't want a nice flat area. I like to use a palette for this, not a paper towel. Just a little bit of rust here on the palette. I'm going to grab the foam here firmly in the tweezers so we have good control. Dip it in the paint, and I'm going to just brush off most of it. I don't want to like suck the paint out, which is why I don't use paper towels. So we're just going to start sponging on some of the rusty color here. There we go. Just like that. Nice and heavily rusted. Okay, now I do like to change foam between colors. That's just a matter of personal preference. So we have Doombull Brown, which is the second color I use. And do the same thing here, just dip it in the paint a little bit. Get all the excess off here on the palette. And we basically concentrate in the same areas. Kind of mix it around. We don't want to cover up the rust. We want to like complement it. Excellent. Excellent. And let's take one more piece of foam here. And the Troll Slayer Orange. You can see how quick this goes. There are some thoughts here to do. You want to be careful because it will concentrate on the surface, and rust will actually get into the crevices a little more often, but you just lightly on top of the other colors mix in some of the orange. Definitely want to go lighter on the orange than you go on the other colors. Okay, there we go, just like that. So now I got a nice break component to the rust as well. And lastly, we have the wash. Okay, so I said we're going to do one side with Agrax Earthshade and one side with Typhus Corrosion just to see the difference. Side there with the Agrax. A nice brown. There we go. And grab the Typhus Corrosion. Now, Typhus Corrosion needs a good shake because it actually has grit. If you've never used this before, this stuff actually has grit in the bottom of it. So it really adds a texture to the model that just a plain wash does not have. You might actually want to water that down a little bit. It comes out pretty thick. It's really thick. I have to water that down. There we go. So we'll let this dry here, and we'll take a good long look and see what the final results are. Okay, so here we are. The washes have dried, and now we can tell the difference between the Aggressor shade and the Typhus Corrosion. The Corrosion adds the texture to it, which you won't normally get unless you use pigments. Because rust definitely has texture, so that would help, having some pigments on there. But the Aggressor shade provides a nice, like, worn, dirty look, and still has the shading in the crevices. And of course, here's the unwashed metal in the middle for a comparison. And also, if you wanted to, you could also add some final paint color. Say if there was a little bit of paint left over, and you could just take another sponge layer and sponge on some final color around the rust, like it was a little bit of the original paint left, but not a lot. Okay, so that's it. Remember, when you're doing rust, you do want to use various colors, because rust isn't just one color. And you want to, of course, make it worn and dirty. So that's it, and thanks for watching.